This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening everyone and welcome to Southern Cross News. Doctors have welcomed the Premier's admission Tasmania's health system isn't up to scratch. The Australian Medical Association is pushing for more planning for health infrastructure to keep up with demand. Today, the Premier was spruiking economic prosperity, which he says will help pay to fix the issues.
Cooking up a storm. The Premier putting on a show this morning as he spruiks Tasmania's tourism industry.
Oh, perfect.
Sharing the stage with the owner of Muir's Upper Deck, who's preparing to recruit 50 more staff to handle the bustling summer season.
We have got more confidence in the future of the business and hospitality in Tasmania than we've ever had before.
When you look at our rate of growth, it's strong, but it's sustainable. 2% over the last year. Has brought a lot of visitors to our state, but it is manageable. And
talk of slowing down the industry amid concerns of sustainability rejected.
If we send a message to the rest of the world that we no longer want tourists here, they'll get it, and that will damage and hurt Tasmanian businesses right across the state.
But that increasing demand is causing significant growing pains, with housing and health already bursting at the seams.
They need to look at being able to provide these critical services for Tasmanians before they can look at any population strategy that will increase Tasmania's population without increasing the infrastructure that we need to support a growing population.
There are more jobs, more opportunities. That means a better budget, greater economic prosperity, and that means government can invest more into our schools and our hospitals.
The AMA agreeing with the Premier's speech yesterday, addressing the State Liberal Conference, where he admitted there are serious issues with our health system. Forward planning in health infrastructure, particularly the Royal Hobart Hospital, crucial for easing the pain.
The rural development at the moment will meet the current needs for when it was designed. But unfortunately the thing with hospital redesign is the hospital population continues growing, and therefore the new design for the future is what we need next.
Louise HEDGER, Southern Cross News.
A wood heater is being blamed as the cause of a fire which destroyed 2 shipping containers and a dwelling in Elderslie today. Tasmania Fire Service says crews from Bridgewater, Brighton and Broadmarsh attended at around 11:30, but the containers were already well alight. Among other items, the blaze destroyed war medals and a gun safe and caused around $100,000 in damage. No one was injured. The research vessel Investigator has returned to Tasmania with a new insight into what lies in the waters off our coastline. Scientists have been mapping a chain of volcanic seamounts more than double the size of Mount Wellington, and they're proving to be a hive of activity for marine life.
Arriving back at its home port of Hobart today, the Investigator offloading scientific equipment and samples from its most recent voyage. Perhaps the most interesting thing it's brought back, new data about the seafloor.
It's a whole different world down there. Who can imagine that there are 3-kilometre high mountains tucked in under the Earth's waves?
400 kilometres off Tasmania's east coast, researchers have mapped a chain of massive seamounts, for the first time providing detailed data about what's on the seafloor. These 3-kilometre high underwater mountains thought to be the remnants of our breakup with Antarctica tens of millions of years ago.
As Australia and Antarctica and Tasmania all broke up, a big hotspot came in underneath the Earth's crust, made these volcanoes and then actually helped make the Earth's crust break so that all of those areas could start to drift apart.
But it's not just the history of the area that scientists are interested in. Now dormant, the seamounts are proving to be a hotspot for marine and bird life.
We were surprised to see as many whales as what we did. It was clear that these seamounts provided a feeding stop for these animals. We were seeing the migratory humpback whales, they're on their way back down to the Antarctic.
Researchers also deploying the Investigator's deepest multi-core probe of the seafloor surface, 5 kilometres beneath the waves.
So we get that snapshot of what the surface looks like, and as you can imagine, it's a lot easier to do sampling when it's 100 meters, 200 meters of cable out, but when we're talking about 5 kilometers.
The Investigator is set for more seamount exploration in November and December. Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
Voting for Tasmania's council elections is kicking off this week. 365,000 postal ballots are set to be delivered to mailboxes in every local government area other than Glenorchy. With changes to the postal system, the Electoral Commission is urging Tasmanians to return their ballots as soon as possible.
We've got a 3-week period for people to vote, mainly to assist us with slower postal delivery times compared to 2014. So we've given a bit more time. But that said, if you get it done, it's done. If you leave it on the kitchen bench, you might not come back to it until it's too late.
Postal votes need to be returned by the 30th of October. A Tasmanian wildlife refuge has welcomed a baby boom with more than 24 new devils born this year. While the mini marsupials are treating visitors to growls and wrestling, the sanctuary's keepers say the new arrivals offer the species fresh hope.
In May, staff were delighted to find all 9 females here at Devils at Cradle were carrying young. They soon realised it was their best year on record, counting 25 fresh-faced joeys.
Really exciting. So yeah, I mean, we've obviously had breeding success over the years, but to have such a high success rate was just great.
The program is part of the mission to rescue the Tasmanian icon from extinction.
Unfortunately, devils are now considered endangered in the wild due to devil facial tumour disease. So this facility is one of many around Australia that are part of a collaborative captive breeding program and insurance populations.
Despite showing a little tough love, devils can still be nurturing.
We find that the time investment for a female is fairly significant. Females will spend anywhere up to 10 or 11 months each year raising their young. They're very protective mums, especially once the joeys are starting to leave the pout.
As our cameraman found out from Mum Marley. The sanctuary has also welcomed more quolls.
That's a little female.
Once they're a little bit older, it's hoped young joeys like Pepper here will join the breeding program to help save the species.
But for now, it's all about just having a play and staying close to Mum. Sean McComish, Southern Cross News.
The Table Cape Tulip Farm is enjoying a blossoming season with visitation up 30% on last year. Growers say the flowers are in full bloom right now, but don't worry if you haven't been able to snap yourself a selfie. This weekend will be the prime time.
When it's spring again, I'll bring again tulips from Amsterdam.
It's a sea of colour as far as the eye can see, providing the picture-perfect rainbow backdrop for selfies, the ideal playground for our curious furry friends, and a child's delight with row after row of pure tulip heaven.
The tulips are looking fantastic right now. They're almost at peak bloom.
Yeah, they're really nice. Surprising how many there are here, there's heaps.
Many enjoying a moment to dance in the field, letting their hair down and truly enjoying a day out in the state's northwest.
I've lived in Tassie for 30 years and I've never been here, and it's just beautiful. And Jenna and I were just trying to decide which one we like best, and we can't.
And with over 100 varieties, it's not hard to see why. But for some, it was an easier choice.
The big orange ones. The purple ones.
Some are big and some are very small, but yeah, so it's a lot to keep track of.
For the past 30 years, families, tourists, and even our four-legged friends have been able to wander through these fields, coming from far and wide to see the experience for themselves.
We're here from Singapore, okay, with my family here. Right, we are here just for this tulip seasons. So before we came here, we just hope that we can catch the right timing.
Come from Launceston, so we're here for, just for tonight, and yeah, just thought we'd bring the family along and enjoy the scenery.
And they're not the only ones, with tourist numbers significantly up this year. The family-run farm is now preparing for the biggest weekend of the season, with the Blooming Tulips Festival on this Saturday.
Huge number of tourists, international tourists especially. We think we're maybe up 30% on last year, which is really quite significant for us. We're holding on for dear life.
Jessica Moran, Southern Cross News.
7 tough challenges have hit land and sea to raise awareness around mental health and workplace safety. The very first Better with Balance multi-sport event kicked off with a kayak in Georgetown this morning. Participants then switched to wheels, cycling to Sheffield. The 1,000-kilometre challenge runs for a week and aims to raise $30,000 for Rural Alive and Well. Now let's take a look at the day's business and finance news with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. Australian shares have suffered their worst one-day performance since March as the Aussie dollar recovered slightly from a weak opening. The ASX 200 index has dropped by 85.2 points. Short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 70.6 US cents and 80.34 Japanese yen.
After Tasmania was in danger of folding from the Australian Hockey League due to lack of funding, thousands of fans turned out over the weekend to show their support for the game. And Hockey Tasmania says things will only get better from here on out. It was a last-minute lifeline from the state government, along with some generous local sponsors, that allowed Tasmania to continue competing on the national stage, with the sides justifying their existence on Saturday night.
Men played exceptionally well, the 5-1 win against ACT. Our women were really competitive as well.
Around 2,500 turned out as the AHL returned to the state for the first time since 2011, with more expected on Sunday when the Tigers and Demons take on New South Wales.
We're rapt to have it. It's something that we can't afford not to have, particularly with our young players coming through. It just provides that pathway to national teams.
That young talent on display today, with more than 400 players competing at the National Under-13 Championships this week in Hobart. And with the state's girls and boys sides currently sitting 1st and 4th in the tournament standings, Hockey Tasmania is confident the sport's popularity will only continue to grow.
The young boys and girls running around here, they can see that natural progression in, and look, participation numbers will improve as a result.
North Hobart Oval is playing host to the 30th edition of the National Police Football Championships, with more than 200 police officers from 6 states making the trip down for the event as Team Tasmania chases its first ever carnival win.
And Tassie have got Glenn Dawson, who's ex-Port Adelaide, Cameron Blight, who's at Carlton. So yeah, there's some good players still running around out there.
On Wednesday, Tasmania and Western Australia will play off for the Ty Bennett Memorial Shield in memory of the popular Hobart footballer and police officer who lost his life in a car crash while on duty in 1999.
Good evening. Fingal reached 22 degrees to be our warmest today. Hobart, Burnie and Devonport recorded 17, Launceston 21. Mostly fine until a shower touched the west and far south. Flinders Island 20 degrees, Friendly Beaches 19, Smithton, St Helens, Grove and Ooze 18, Low Head and Strawn 16, Lyawini 15. A few cloudy patches did move over from the northwest during the day, a little less cover over the northeast of the state. A thick band of cloud is moving over central Australia. That's linked to a low near Adelaide. A low is winding its way down the New South Wales coastline as well, but most of the north of the country free of heavy cover. Tomorrow a cold front moves right over us from the southwest, with a high pushing in fairly quickly after it. Lows and troughs still the main features over the mainland. The wind shifting south-southwesterly at 20 to 30 knots during the day, swells at 2.5 metres, so we do have a strong wind warning which is current for all Tasmanian coastal waters. Hobart tomorrow, a shower or two easing, becoming windy with that change in the wind, 16 degrees, 15 the top for Adventure Bay, 13 for Tarraleah with showers clearing. Launceston, showers overnight, clearing tomorrow, 20 the top, 20 for Devonport with a shower or two earlier, shower or two for Bridport and 19. For Burnie tomorrow, a shower or two clearing, 19 the top, 15 for Strawn and Marrawar with a little bit wet weather, clearing later in the day. And showers developing for the east, St Helens 18, 17 for Swansea and Whitemark. UV at 4s and 5s right across the island. On Wednesday, the chance of inland frost, and apart from an early shower over the southwest, a fine day. Fine on Thursday with the chance of another early shower over the east coast, and fine and partly cloudy on Friday. Clearer conditions over the west and south. A possible shower or storm in Perth tomorrow. A shower also for Adelaide, Melbourne and Canberra. Partly cloudy conditions for Sydney and Brisbane. A little bit cloudy around the state at the moment. Hobart 14 degrees, 18 in Launceston, Devonport currently 15. Bit of wind and rain overnight, Joe. Clearing tomorrow though.
Lovely news. Thank you very much for that. Well, that's all from the team for now. Have a great evening. See you a little later. Bye-bye.